With Disney recently casting Captain Typho's daughter as the live-action Moana, it made me think, what other live-action remakes of Disney animated movies could we be getting? So far, we've gotten 101 Dalmatians, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, The Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and the Beast, Dumbo, Aladdin, The Lion King, Mulan, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and The Little Mermaid. Plus, spin-offs like Maleficent, Christopher Robin, Cruella, and The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is inspired by Fantasia. As you can see, they've covered most of the well-known ones. Regardless of what your opinion of these movies are, most of them did pretty well at the box office, so it makes sense why Disney is continuing to make them. In the coming years, we're getting Snow White, Moana, Lilo and Stitch, Hercules, Bambi, Robin Hood, and the Aristocats. All those movies have either been filmed, are currently filming, or are confirmed to be filming soon. Now that's a pretty long list, so what's left for Disney to adapt into live action? The Sword in the Stone is an obvious one that comes to mind. The only problem is, it's a story that's been told many times before. Are people going to be willing to see a movie that they've already seen 100 different ways? It's the same with Tarzan. Yes, they have the Disney brand behind it, but with people more selective about the movies they see in cinemas, these two seem like more of a risk than others. Then you've got movies like Brother Bear, The Princess and the Frog, and Zootopia, where most, if not all of the time, the characters would be CGI animals, therefore having a similar style to The Lion King. That may be something people enjoy, but for me, I think those work better for non-photorealistic animation. And as much as I hate to say this, but I feel like that would be the same problem with The Emperor's New Groove. I really enjoy that movie, but with one of the two main characters being a llama for majority of the film, it may not translate well into live action. The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Atlantis the Lost Empire could both definitely work, but I'm not sure if the demand is there for either of them. Meet the Robinsons is one that I could totally see working. It's a fun family film that you could put a modern twist on and could be really good. Then as long as it's marketed well, I think Meet the Robinsons could make some serious dollary doos. Wreck-It Ralph is one I'm unsure about. I love the movie, but the vibrant environments and the specifically shaped characters may not translate into live action. Then we have Tangled and Frozen. It's only a matter of time before we get a live action remake of Tangled and Frozen. These are beloved Disney movies, guaranteed to make bank at the box office, so I wouldn't be surprised if both or at least one of them is announced sometime this year. As for Disney's newer animated movies like Raya and the Last Dragon, Encanto, Strange World, and Wish, it's probably too early to remake them. However, they're already remaking Moana, which isn't even a decade old, so I wouldn't put it past them. But with all that said, the animated movie I think Disney should remake in live action next is Treasure Planet. This may come across as an odd choice, but let me explain. Despite Treasure Planet being nominated for a Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards, the movie bombed at the box office, only making $110 million on a $140 million budget. However, this could be likely due to it being released at the same time as The Santa Claus 2 and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, two movies targeting the same audience as Treasure Planet. The movie is loosely based on the Treasure Island novel, but with a sci-fi feel about it. The production team used a 70-30 law, where 70% of the design was a traditional look for the time period and 30% was sci-fi to maintain a balance between the classic and the futuristic. Directors John Musker and Ron Clements had pitched the idea in the mid-80s, but were repeatedly turned down by Disney. It wasn't until the pair had proven themselves with The Little Mermaid and Aladdin where Disney decided to finally greenlight Treasure Planet more than a decade after they first pitched the concept.
And when the time comes, you get the chance to really test the cut of your sails and show what you're made of.
Treasure Planet utilized a combination of traditional 2D animation and 3D computer-generated imagery. The characters were primarily hand-drawn, while the environments and ships were created using CGI. The blended techniques had been done before in their movies, like Beauty and the Beast, but were made use of much more in Treasure Planet. Some even consider this movie as the beginning of the end for hand-drawn animation at Disney, with only 2 more of their films after that using the 2D style. Despite Treasure Planet being a movie that was written and directed by the same 2 people who wrote and directed The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Hercules, the film was not a musical. Yes, the movie has songs in it, but none of them were sung by the characters, which I thought was a real shame because the songs provided by the Goo Goo Dolls lead singer John Rezenick feel like they could have easily worked as a musical number. Here's a taste. I feel like this is different to something like Tarzan, where Phil Collins' songs work perfectly as songs and wouldn't really fit as musical tunes. This is something I'll talk about more when I come to the pitch. As for the story of Treasure Planet, it follows the adventures of Jim Hawkins, a rebellious teenager who discovers a holographic map to the legendary Treasure Planet. Jim sets sail on the RLS Legacy, where he bonds with a cybernetic cook, John Silver, who is secretly plotting a mutiny. As they reach Treasure Planet, Jim navigates betrayal and danger, ultimately teaming up with Silver to find the treasure. In a dramatic escape from the self-destructing planet, Silver sacrifices his treasure to save Jim, who returns home a hero, ready to embark on a promising future. It's a fun adventure with a rich world build that it could have had many sequels. In fact, a sequel was planned, with Willem Dafoe set to voice the villainous Ironbeard. The proposed idea would see Jim and Kate, his love interest and classmate at the Royal Interstellar Academy, team up with John Silver to stop Ironbeard from freeing the inmates of Botany Bay Prison Asteroid. Unfortunately, these plans were cancelled due to the poor box office performance. While Treasure Planet may not have been a financial success, it's since gained a cult following over the years, which is why I think it needs to be the next animated movie that Disney should consider adapting into live action. So without further ado, here's my pitch for a live action remake of Disney's Treasure Planet.
Let's motor.
The live action Disney remake of Treasure Planet should be a musical.
Yes, indeed!
There's a song in the movie called It's one of the best songs that Disney has ever produced, and no one talks about it. If the song was in a musical, it would have absolutely been spoken about in the same conversation as Let It Go. But because it's played as a track over a montage, I think that's why people don't talk about it. When I was watching the movie, all I could think about was how epic it would have been to see Jim singing that song. At the climax, he's at the front of the ship, belting out the tune as he sings it to the stars. It would have been incredible. But that's just one song. Disney tends to have at least half a dozen to a dozen. At the beginning, when Jim's mother is reading the story, that could be a song. There could be a Go the Distant type song where Jim leaves home to go on a journey to find Treasure Planet. When the crew is saying that John Silver has gone soft, that could be an intense song. Ben the Robot can introduce himself and explain who he is with a whimsical tune. Then you just need a couple more songs and then it'd be good. As for the rest of the movie, I'd keep it more or less the same, but there are a few things I would add and change. In the animation, John Silver acts as a father figure to Jim. Now, I wouldn't necessarily change that, but I would add lines of dialogue saying things like, "You need to respect your mother, I'm sure she did the best to raise you," and "You don't need a father to be a good person." This way it doesn't take anything away from Jim's mum raising him as a single mother. I'd also add a scene where Jim is searching for the crew to take him to Treasure Planet. When Captain Amelia agrees to captain the ship, have John Silver, Scroop, and the others overhear them talking about Treasure Planet and volunteer to be the crew. The movie should also have an intense sword fight. One of the things the animated movie lacked was a Pirates of the Caribbean style epic duel. I think when Jim goes back for the map, him and Scroop can fulfill that battle. Maybe Scroop first attacks, but then Morph saves Jim by transforming into a sword to block the attack, which Jim then uses as his melee weapon. Treasure Planet is a 90-minute movie that could easily be expanded to 2.5 hours to learn more about some of the characters and enrich the story without feeling bloated. A live-action Treasure Planet could become the franchise to replace Pirates of the Caribbean instead of rebooting that. Anyway, let me know what time you want me to come in, Disney, so we can discuss this further.
Awesome!
Hey, do you want to hear some cool Treasure Planet facts?
Yes!
Here's some cool fun facts about Treasure Planet. When Jim's mother is reading his book to him at the beginning of the movie, on the bookshelf there is a Stitch doll in an astronaut suit.
Ooh.
The name of the ship, RLS Legacy, is a reference to the Treasure Island book's author, Robert Louis Stevenson.
RLS Legacy!
Treasure Planet is the first ever feature film to be released simultaneously in regular and IMAX theaters.
I see nothing. One great big stinking hunk of nothing.
Treasure Planet is Disney's third adaptation of the Treasure Island book, after Treasure Island and Muppets Treasure Island.
Silver!
Before Joseph Gordon-Levitt was cast as Jim Hawkins, Tom Cruise, Michael J. Fox, Anthony Michael Hall, and Jared Leto were all considered for the role.
Stay out of trouble, you old scalawag.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your favourite live-action Disney remake is.